Hi guys, Irit here with another, I guess, an art journaling page, even though this I wouldn't consider like a real art journal because it's not really a journal, but it doesn't matter. My actual art journal that I'm working in right now was in the process of drying because I was working on a few things. I really got into the groove of painting and art journaling and just playing with mixed media and stuff. So I had to move on to this paper pad. Now it's a really great paper pad. It's the Canson watercolor paper, and it's pretty big, as you can see. I think it's an A3 size, so something like 11 and something inches on 15, 16. You can try and do the math with my mat there underneath it. It's a really affordable option for nice watercolor paper that for most purposes I think works well. It's obviously not the best, but for these type of things it's really great, and it's nice sometimes to work on a larger scale. So again, I'm playing with my gouache palette, and I show exactly what's in this palette and the different. I have a few paints there. There's mostly Shinhan Pass hybrid paint. There's a few Winsor & Newton gouache and a couple of Schmincke. Now, I just started playing, and sometimes it's easier to start with. I guess sometimes the challenge of art journaling is that blank page, that white page, and sometimes it's just, it makes it easier to start with a simple idea like a pattern or something. So circles or stripes in this case. And then kind of things just happen more organically. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just playing around and seeing what happens. So I'm using this flat brush, and usually I use round brushes. Those are my favorite. I find them the most versatile, and I can use the whole brush or I can just use the tip of it for more detail. But I got this flat brush to try, and this one is from Escoda. It's a synthetic brush, and I have now a few brushes from Escoda, and I have to say I'm really happy with them. They're great quality, great quality, and what's up, Doc? And quite affordable. They have different series. The one that you see at the top of the screen there, just lying there in the shade, is I think they're Perla series, and they're lovely too. So, it's fun to just try different things once in a while. Now, the thing with gouache is that it's not completely permanent, and also you can play with the opacity of the paint. If you use it more concentrated form, then it's more opaque, and then if you add water to it, it's basically kind of like watercolor. So that gives me a lot of room to play, and yeah, I just really enjoyed just playing here. There's really I kind of went with the flow. And once my background was dry, I just started adding some flowers, and I'm using, this is a rigger brush, and it's actually a house brand from Jackson's Art Supplies. It's a UK-based online store. That's where I get most of my art supplies. Because I'm in Europe, and usually it's not worth it for me to order from the US. So I order within Europe or the European Union. I'm not sure how that's going to work with Brexit and everything. Doesn't matter. So this is a rigger brush, and it's really great for adding little details and drawing, and also it makes nice splatters. Yeah, I really prefer for splatters, I prefer round brushes. The flat ones, they can hold less water than round brushes, and somehow the splatters are not that great, at least for me. So I don't know, maybe it's better for someone else. So my color palette is quite limited here. It's mostly around the pinks with a few oranges and then going a bit into the violets. And I think it just at some point it was a little bit too much of these same colors for me. I felt it needed a little bit more contrast, but I kind of stop at some point. I think just next time I'll have to maybe think a little bit more, which I try to avoid at all costs. No, I just mean that when I start painting, sometimes it's just a very intuitive process and I don't think too much. But I think the result here, I do try to learn from my mistakes, just in the sense of, seeing what I like as I paint. I just discover, which color combinations I like. And while I do love these super vibrant, bright colors, pinks and violets and oranges, those have always been my favorite. I just think in this case, I went a bit too far. So I think next time, I'll have to either just paint on a smaller area of the page, or add more neutrals, or add more contrast, or add more white, or something just to tone down and not have so much, real estate, so much area in my art journal or spread or whatever creation piece that I'm working on. Not to have so much of it covered with such bright and vibrant colors. And this is, there's no right or wrong here. It's totally discovering your style and your preferences. And that's just how I feel. At some point I stopped working on this, and I like certain aspects of it. And definitely I learned a lot, but I can't say that the finished result is, in my eyes, perfect in just the way of the balance here. So it's just a little bit much. That's how I felt when I finished it. And when I was kind of doing the last few details and layers, I guess I just didn't really know where to go. And yeah, I can always go back, with white paint and cover some stuff, or, just white out some areas and make it a bit calmer. But I don't know, I guess I just had enough with it. So now I just thought, okay, maybe I'll add some more light opaque paint, because till now I used a lot of water, and I used my paints that were more on the transparent side. And my friend Tanya asked me if I think that gouache is better for art journaling than watercolors. And I can't really answer that. Well, first of all, I'm not sure I completely understand the difference between gouache and watercolors. I have to do a bit of research. Maybe it depends on the binder in the paint, because as far as I see in the supplies that I have transparent watercolors, I have opaque watercolors, I have transparent gouache paints and opaque gouache paints. So it's not the opacity that defines what is watercolor and what is gouache. And I'm just not sure. I just don't know enough about it. What I do know is that I'm having a lot of fun, and I tend to use my gouache paints more thickly. I could probably do the same with my watercolor paints and also get similar effects. Also, once you add something like white to your palette, then it's kind of a whole different ball game with being able to make your paints more opaque, let's say if you're using regular traditional watercolors. So I can't say which one is better. What I like about both of them is that flexibility of having a palette with dried paint that I can just start, just get it wet and start painting, and I don't have to set it up each time like I do with acrylics. And, also with acrylics, I hate cleaning my brushes, and it just gets a little bit more messy. I'm kind of lazy with washing my water jars, and with somehow with watercolors I'm a little bit more motivated and I don't know, it just works better for me. I also have really nice brushes for watercolor because I thought it was worth spending a little bit more, whereas for my acrylic paints I have the really cheap brushes, and while I'm sure that many people can make wonderful art with their fingers or the cheapest type of brushes out there, because I have nicer brushes for watercolor, I also enjoy painting with them more. So I'm just more drawn to that medium. I don't think there's better or worse here. I think it just depends on personal preference. And I keep going back to, the products, my supplies. The more I use certain supplies, the more I want to use them because I feel comfortable with them and I know what to expect. And as I use them, I learn how they behave. So I've been painting a lot with my watercolors and also with this nice gouache palette, and that just makes me feel more comfortable with them, and that just makes me use them more, if that makes sense. I think it does. So yeah, I don't think they are better than acrylics or something else, but I'm just really enjoying them. That's why I'm using them a lot. But I'm also trying to use some of my other products, and I will have another art journal process soon using some Inktense blocks that I have and I haven't used in quite a while, and I thought it would be a nice opportunity to use them. So I like to start my spreads with a larger brush, to cover bigger areas. And then at the end, it's nice to have a smaller brush and add some details like dots and splatters. And you can see this brush is also very versatile because I can use the tip for tiny details, and then I can use it on its side to cover larger areas. And at some point I stop. You see, this just goes on and on, but it is nice to have a bit more flexibility with gouache than with my regular transparent watercolors, and I can add more opaque layers and it doesn't get too messy. Also, because I'm using such a narrow color palette here, things are not really getting muddy because it's all kind of in the same area of the color wheel. So it does allow me to layer a bit more. If you use a lot of colors, then you have to watch it a bit more because you risk getting some unattractive mud. There is attractive mud, and then there's the unattractive mud, or things just turning murky and looking overworked and just bad on your layout. I've had that too. So, you always make mistakes. Sorry, tongue-tied. I've been awake for many, many hours. But it's all part of the learning process. And here I decided to add some green. This is where I felt like, okay, I need a bit more contrast, but I think it was a little bit too little too late kind of thing. And I should have started with this earlier when I didn't have so many layers. This just looks to me kind of overworked and just not working, and that's why I wanted to get rid of most of that paint. Sorry about the light. The sun was kind of setting, and this video will be finished soon anyway. So here's my finished page. It's very hard with these kind of really bright fluorescent colors to get the editing right and make them look like they do in real life, but I try. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. I will link to the products I used in the description box. Have a lovely day. Bye.